The CIA has roughly 21,000 employees. The public knows the names of almost none of them. This is not a coincidence. Anonymity is not a side effect of the CIA. It is the product. Here is what life inside it actually looks like, from the bottom to the very top. Level 1. The applicant. You have not been hired yet. You filled out a form, not just any form, the SF-86, 127 pages. They want to know everywhere you've lived for the past 10 years, every foreign national you've ever met, every drug you've ever used, even once, even at a party in college, and whether you told the truth about it afterward. The CIA is not checking your record. It is checking your honesty about your record. Because an officer who lied on a form has already told the agency one thing: they can be pressured, they can be threatened, they can be turned. You wait months for a response. Most applicants never receive one. Acceptance rate for operations officers below 1%, lower than Harvard, lower than Navy SEAL selection, lower than almost anything you can name. And if they do call you, the actual process has not yet begun. You will take a polygraph, not once. The machine will ask about your loyalty, your finances, whether you have ever passed information to a foreign government. The polygraph is not scientifically reliable. Every serious intelligence professional knows this, but failing it ends your application immediately. What it actually measures is not deception. It measures anxiety. And the CIA wants to see what you do when the state points a machine at your nervous system and asks you to prove you are trustworthy. You are not yet an asset, not yet an officer. You are a candidate, entirely at the mercy of a process you cannot see. Level 2. The trainee. You got in. You were told to drive to a location in rural Virginia. The address leads to what looks like a military base. This is Camp Peary, called by everyone who knows it simply the farm. It does not appear on most official maps. For 6 months, it is your entire world. You wake at 5 a.m. You run. You are put under stress, not because the CIA needs you to be physically exceptional, but because stress reveals things about a person that normal conditions conceal. The physical training is the least important part. You learn surveillance, how to follow a target through a crowded city without being noticed, how to detect if you are being followed, how to know right now, in this moment, that someone is watching you and show absolutely no sign that you know. You learn to build a cover identity, not just a false name, a false life, a history you can defend under questioning, under pressure, under interrogation from someone specifically trying to find the seam in your story. One exercise sends you into a nearby town with a fabricated identity. One instruction: recruit a civilian, not a fellow trainee, an actual stranger. You must build rapport, establish trust, and lead them toward sharing information they would not normally share, without revealing who you are or why you are doing it. Most trainees fail this the first time. The ones who succeed make an uncomfortable discovery about themselves. They are good at this. Level 3. The junior officer. You have a posting. Vienna, Bangkok, a mid-sized city in a country most people cannot find on a map. Your official title: political officer at the U.S. Embassy, trade representative, something unremarkable enough that nobody asks questions. Your actual job: Identify and develop foreign nationals who have access to information the United States needs and does not have. But here's what the first year actually looks like. Diplomatic receptions, cocktail parties, formal dinners where you stand at the edge of the room with a drink and watch. You are not socializing, you are assessing. You are looking for specific patterns. The bureaucrat who seems financially stressed, the military officer who drinks slightly too much and complains slightly too openly about his government, the scientist who seems overlooked, resentful, hungry for recognition. These are not random targets, they are profiles. The CIA has spent 70 years studying what makes a person willing to betray their country. The answer is almost never ideology. It is money, ego, grievance, the human need to feel important to someone. You write assessment reports, long, careful documents on potential recruits. They go up the chain and return, almost always with the same instruction. Continue assessment. Do not approach. Patience is the foundational skill of intelligence work. You are learning it now, slowly, against your instincts.
Level 4. The Case Officer. You now run assets. An asset is a person, a real human being, who has agreed to secretly provide information to the United States government. They may be a mid-level bureaucrat with access to procurement documents, a military officer who knows troop positioning, a scientist working inside a weapons program that officially does not exist. Your job is to manage these relationships. You meet your assets in safe houses, parking garages, the back of taxis in cities far from where they live. You build genuine rapport with them. You remember their children's names. You ask about their aging parents. You laugh at their jokes. You express real concern when they seem frightened. And all of it, every warm gesture, every remembered birthday, every moment of apparent friendship is operational. You are not their friend. You are their handler. And somewhere beneath every meeting, you carry the knowledge that if this person is caught, if their own government discovers what they are doing, they will face prison or torture or execution, and the CIA will release a statement, no knowledge of their activities. They will face it alone. You are told this is the nature of the work. You are told they understood the risks when they agreed. You will tell yourself this for the rest of your career. Whether you fully believe it is a different question. Level 5. The Chief of Station.
You are now the senior CIA officer in your assigned country. Every CIA operation within this nation runs through you. You brief the U.S. ambassador, though there are things you do not share even with them. You coordinate with the host country's intelligence services, calibrating how much to share to maintain working relationships while protecting your own sources. You make real-time decisions when operations fracture, and they fracture. An asset goes silent for 3 weeks. No contact, no signal. Dead? Arrested? Or has he been turned, feeding you fabricated intelligence designed to compromise your entire network? A junior officer makes contact with a target at the wrong location. Local surveillance may have noticed. Do you abort the operation, extract the officer, or hold position and hope they missed it? These decisions land on your desk, made with incomplete information, under time pressure, knowing the wrong call can collapse years of work or end a life. In every functional sense, you are the CIA in this country.
Level 6. The Senior Analyst.
Not every path through the CIA involves field operations. Some of the most powerful people at Langley have never run an asset, never operated undercover, never set foot in a safe house. They sit in offices. They read. They think. The senior analyst takes raw intelligence, intercepts, source reports, satellite data, signals, human fragments, and converts it into something usable, an assessment, a finished document. A document that may land on the desk of the President of the United States. The President's Daily Brief is one of the most classified documents in existence. Each morning, the President receives the CIA's assessment of the world's most urgent threats. You may write it. Consider what that means. A sentence you wrote, your interpretation of ambiguous, incomplete, often contradictory intelligence shapes how the most powerful person in the world understands reality on a given morning. The weight of this is not abstract. In 2002, CIA analysts produced assessments on weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. Those assessments influenced the decision to go to war. No weapons were found. Being wrong at this level has consequences that outlast careers, that outlast administrations, that reshape history. Level 7. The Covert Action Specialist. Covert action is the part of the CIA that the government does not explain and the public does not want to examine too closely. It is not intelligence collection. It is influence, interference, the deliberate alteration of events in foreign countries without the involvement being visible or acknowledged. The CIA has, at documented points in its history, organized the overthrow of elected governments, funded opposition movements inside sovereign nations, spread fabricated stories through foreign media, sometimes without the journalists knowing the source, operated detention programs in sites designed to exist outside any legal system. The Church Committee hearings in 1975 revealed planned assassinations of foreign heads of state, programs administering mind-altering substances to American citizens without their knowledge, surveillance of American journalists and domestic political activists. None of this is historical curiosity. The legal architecture for covert action still functions. Operations are underway right now that will not be declassified for 30 years. The people who run them are not nihilists. Most believe with complete sincerity that what they are doing is necessary. Whether that belief justifies the methods is a question the institution has never cleanly resolved. It may not be resolvable. Level 8. The Counterintelligence Officer. You no longer trust anyone. This is not a pathology. It is the job description. Counterintelligence is the CIA investigating itself, hunting for foreign penetrations, compromised officers, moles inside its own structure. The history is not reassuring. Aldrich Ames was a CIA case officer. He passed the names of every significant CIA asset inside the Soviet Union to the KGB. He did this for 9 years. At least 10 people were executed. He drove a Jaguar. He bought a $500,000 house with cash. For years, no one at the CIA asked serious questions about how he was affording any of it. The failure was not a failure of information. It was a failure of institutional willingness to look at what was directly in front of it. Your job is to look. You investigate your own colleagues, not because you have specific evidence against them, but because everyone represents a potential vulnerability until the risk has been formally assessed. You examine lifestyle changes, unexplained travel, financial patterns that do not match salary, access to information outside their authorized scope. The cultural damage this creates inside the organization is real. CIA officers know they are being watched. The awareness generates resentment, stress, and a low-level institutional paranoia that never fully disappears. But the alternative, Allowing a hostile intelligence service to operate inside Langley for a decade is worse. At least, that is the institutional position.
Level 9. The Senior Intelligence Officer. You have been inside the CIA for more than 20 years. Your rank is equivalent to a general officer. You manage departments. You control budgets measured in hundreds of millions of dollars. You sit in rooms where intelligence shapes policy, and policy shapes the world. At this level, you are no longer an intelligence officer in any operational sense. You are an institution builder. The most consequential work at this level is structural, designing systems that function through administrations that change every 4 years, through directors who arrive with political mandates and depart with institutional scars, through crises that would dissolve less durable organizations. You have watched the CIA survive the Church Committee, survive the post-9/11 reconfiguration, survive every political cycle that sought to either weaponize it or dismantle it. The institution endures because people at your level ensure it does, regardless of who is in the White House, regardless of what Congress is currently investigating. You also know things about the organization's history that are not in any public document. That knowledge is part of what makes you useful and part of what makes you dangerous. Level 10. The Deputy Director. There are 6 deputy directors at the CIA. You are one of them. You manage entire directorates: the National Clandestine Service, the Directorate of Analysis, the Directorate of Science and Technology. Each is its own large organization, thousands of employees, its own institutional culture, its own budget politics, its own accumulated history of operations and failures. You brief the director daily. You interact regularly with the National Security Council. You appear before congressional oversight committees and answer questions in ways that are technically accurate and strategically incomplete. At this level, the line between intelligence and foreign policy, a line the CIA has always officially claimed to respect, has become functionally theoretical. Intelligence shapes what policymakers believe is possible. Covert action shapes what actually happens. The distinction between informing policy and making it is real on paper and ambiguous in practice. You have strong views about where that line should sit. You keep most of them to yourself. That, too, is part of the job. Level 11. The Director. You sit at the top. The Director of the CIA is confirmed by the Senate, serves at the will of the President, holds operational authority over one of the most powerful intelligence organizations in history. You brief the President personally. You authorize covert operations that no more than a handful of people will ever know about. You manage relationships with 17 other agencies inside the U.S. intelligence community, each with its own priorities, its own culture, and its own institutional resistance to cooperation. Every intelligence success that occurs during your tenure belongs to the institution. Every significant failure belongs to you personally. The position is the summit of American intelligence. But summits have a particular characteristic. The ground is a very long way down in every direction, and the weather changes without warning. What the position does not offer, what no position in this institution offers, is certainty. Level 12. The Architecture. Beyond any individual rank is something that does not have a title. The CIA is not a building in Virginia. It is not a director or a budget line or a collection of officers running assets in foreign cities. It is a way of understanding the world. The intelligence mindset, the conviction that information is power,
that adversaries are always active, that the distance between what governments say and what they do is precisely where reality lives, does not remain contained inside institutional walls. Analysts who leave the CIA take that framework into finance, into risk consulting, into journalism, into the advisory structures that surround governments and corporations. Officers who retire carry their operational methodology into private intelligence firms that now serve multinational corporations, sovereign wealth funds, and governments that cannot officially employ the people they are using. The CIA has been reformed many times, investigated, constrained, expanded, redirected. It has never stopped operating. Because the need it serves is not a government invention. The need to know what is hidden, to understand what is concealed, to influence outcomes in a world where most of the important events happen in the dark. That need existed before the CIA. It will exist after. Somewhere, right now, in a city you will not be told, a conversation is happening that will not be recorded. Someone is being paid to know what was said. That is what the CIA actually is.